All right, so today we're going to talk about essentials for a successful reselling business. So whether you're brand new to reselling or you just kind of want to up-level your business and streamline things a bit more, these are the things that I have found have been the most essential for my own reselling business. Of course, one of the things I love about reselling is that you can kind of fit it in any budget. You can start with pretty much $0 and go from there. So take what works for you or what will help you out and what is within your budget, and then just upgrade as you go. That's the most important thing. It's like, don't feel like you have to do everything all at once. It has taken me years to get to the point where I know what works for me and I can afford the tools that are helpful to me. So this video is just meant to be helpful in that these are things that, as someone who's been reselling for 10 years, I use on an almost daily basis. Well, not daily because I don't resell full time, but every time I'm working on reselling, this is what I use. So real quick, before I dive in, I do want to thank today's sponsor, Vendoo. They are a cross-listing tool. However, they have so many other features, and I am going to talk about them a little bit within this video because I use them every single day that I resell. So anytime I'm listing, I'm in Vendoo. Anytime I'm checking my analytics, I'm in Vendoo. One thing that I do want to talk about is they just recently added the send offers features. If you are selling on eBay or on Poshmark, you know that you can send offers to your buyers. And previously you would have to go into eBay and send those offers and then go into Poshmark and send those offers. And now they have a tool where you can just do it in Vendoo. And I'm in Vendoo all the time listing my items. So for me to just quickly go in there and send offers is great. So I'm excited to keep testing it and see if it works into my process a little bit better than going to the individual platforms. So if you want to check out Vendoo, also I use it for so much. Literally, it's like the central hub for my business. So if you want to check out Vendoo too, go ahead and check the link in the description below and you can get 25% off of your first month. All right, the first thing, I think one of the most important things is just having a decent smartphone. So this is, you can see from the reflection how cracked this is. This is just a glass screen protector, but I just have an iPhone 13 mini. I really try not to be like glued to my phone, so I'm okay with having an older phone. As long as it works, it works. So I use it for taking pictures, which is crucial. So it takes really good pictures, and then I airdrop them to my computer because they are both Macs, and that's just an easy thing that I can do to get my photos over. But I also use it in the stores, and that's really important, is having good service and a good phone to check comps while you're sourcing, because checking comps is huge. Of course, there are going to be some items as you get more experience that you know are going to sell, but I personally would love to double check. I don't want to spend my money on anything that's not going to sell. I don't want to spend my time in listing stuff that's not going to sell. And also, when you list stuff that is like, this might sell, it's bringing your store down, especially on platforms like eBay, where it kind of takes your whole store into consideration in the algorithm. Stores with like 1,000 items and only selling like one item a day are going to just maybe rank a little bit less on eBay. So they want to see active stores with stuff that's high in demand, and using your phone while you're sourcing is key to that, because you can look things up and make sure these items have decent sell price and decent sell-through rates. Again, there's always going to be exceptions, and there's always going to be things that you're like, I know this is going to sell based on the style, or I've sold it before, but having your phone is really helpful, especially for items or brands that you are not familiar with. And one big thing about reselling is learning and growing and just continuing to get more knowledge on what sells so that you can find those items. So a good phone is one of the biggest keys. Now, I know some people don't use a computer, but I prefer to use a laptop. I prefer to use a laptop to list my items and to run my business. I don't want to sit on my phone. I'm on it enough, and it just kind of is a little bit mentally overstimulating for me to be working on my phone when I'm looking at it enough. So using my computer to list and process my photos and like edit them a little bit, and go through and delist and relist stuff in Vendoo and just do a lot of the things that I have to do in my business, I prefer to do on a computer. I think that you could probably get by without one, but if you're going to be a serious reseller, I think that having a computer of some sort is key. Next is a label printer. I don't have mine here with me. My shipping station is in a different room, but I just have a label printer that we use to print all of our labels, and you can totally use a regular printer and regular paper, or the paper where it's 2 labels per sheet. That's what I used in the beginning before I could afford a label printer. Luckily, they're pretty affordable now, usually under $100. I will link to mine below. Mine's pink and I just love it. I think it just makes things a lot easier when you have a label printer where you can just print all your labels, and they just are like a long sheet of labels, and it just makes it easier for me to print labels in that way. But again, this is one thing that you can upgrade later if it's not within your budget, but it does make reselling so much easier. Another great thing about a label printer is they're usually thermal label printers, so you don't have to buy ink. So you buy the printer, you buy the labels, and again, I will link to those below, and you don't have to buy ink or anything. So you just have to keep buying the labels and they just print. Now I talked about Vendoo in like the sponsored ad segment, but I do want to mention Vendoo as part of one of my essential tools. Like I said, I'm in it all the time. I have my VA draft items in there for me. So I have a VA that helps me list my items. I send her my pictures, she makes drafts for me, and then I go into Vendoo. So I check the listings, I do the pricing myself, I enter the cost of goods for each item, and then I make it live on each platform so that she doesn't have access to my accounts. She only has access to my Vendoo. And then I also use Vendoo to record how much items sold for, and so I can easily see my profit, how long items took to sell. I can download reports that show me these things, and then there are analytics that I'm literally obsessed with where I can see, like, ironically, Chico's is one of my best selling brands, and people don't pick that up, but I sell it all the time because I find it all the time. I don't sell it for a lot, but I will take a $20 Chico sale from the bins that I bought for $1. Stuff like that is really important in your business, knowing your numbers, knowing just the information, the data that you need to make good business decisions, and Vendoo really, really helps me with that. Plus it helps, it's just like I said, it's like a central hub for my business. Everything I do in my business on the computer is generally in Vendoo. All right, so we talked about using a phone for taking pictures. Of course you can use a camera, but I find my phone works really well. Maybe is just less complicated than using a camera. And then I use a ring light. I can't show it to you because my camera is on it right now, even though it's not on. It's just, I'm using it as a tripod. But I use a ring light. I have used those softbox lights, which work really well at like kind of distributing light and making it like a more even light. However, they were really big and bulky, and I didn't like to break them down and then put them back up. I would just get too lazy. So my ring light works really well. Like I say all the time, like, you don't need perfect photos. They just need to be good enough. So my ring light does a good job. Like you can see right here, I just hang my items on a command hook. You can't quite see it, but it's just a command hook on the wall. I have my ring light set up. I take pictures with my phone, done. A good lighting system, unless you have amazing lighting. I'm using natural light for this video right now, but natural light doesn't work well enough for taking photos for me. So I do use the ring light. All right, now let's talk about like inventory and organization tools or supplies that I swear by. I love these labels. I will link to them. These are supposed to be thermal labels that get printed on a printer, but it was like so cheap for like 2,000 of them, and I just have this giant roll and I just write numbers on them. And I just put these on my inventory bags, and then here are the bags that I use for inventory. Again, I will link to these. These are the bigger ones. So I have this size and a smaller size, and I just put each item in one of these bags, slap one of these labels on with an inventory number, and then I will put like a brief description of what it is next to the inventory number, just so we can just double check that it's the right item. So those two things are really important to me. And then we just use different kinds of bins. Like we have mismatching bins on shelves in our garage, and that's what we store all of our inventory in. So just having some sort of inventory system in place, that works really well for me. I really like the people who have, or the resellers who have the like slim boxes and their items just kind of like stack in. And I feel like that's so organized, but our items being in a garage, and being in the Pacific Northwest, I would like be a little bit nervous having them more exposed like that. So I prefer a box that just kind of like has a lid and can latch, but whatever works for you. I think the bin, bag, and label system works really well and is pretty affordable. So those are my essentials for kind of like storage and inventory. So shipping supplies. One thing you need to get, especially if you're selling on Poshmark, and even if you're selling on eBay, is get some of the free USPS shipping supplies. I will link below to where you can get it. Don't go crazy and like get a bunch of it. There are people who have used this supplies and like use it as like packing material, and I think that's a great way for us to lose this free supplies, so I don't do that. But I really like the shoe boxes. I really like the various flat rate boxes, usually the medium flat rate. And then I like the padded flat rate envelope, and I like the Tyvek envelopes. Those are like my 4 favorite free USPS items, so I definitely keep those in stock. I also really like just regular poly mailers. That's what I send most clothes in. If something sells on Poshmark, we use a Tyvek envelope because it's US or it's priority mail. But if something sells on eBay and it's a clothing item, it usually just goes in a poly mailer because I'm going to send it like the cheapest shipping option. And then as far as boxes go, I save Amazon boxes and sometimes we'll ship items in old Amazon boxes if I need to. But I also keep a couple different sizes just from Walmart, just in case, but we don't sell a lot of items that need boxing. Oh, and you can't forget a scale. So if you are selling on eBay, you need a scale because you need to know what your items weigh so that you can charge and pay correct shipping. You don't want to get like an extra charge from USPS because you underestimated the weight on your item, or you don't want your buyer to get a bill from USPS. I've had that happen before where there wasn't enough postage and I got a note saying I had to pay for it or something. I don't remember. It was something along those lines. So there are a lot of things that can go wrong if you don't know the weight of your item. So just a cheap scale. I think the one I use is like $20. I will link to it below. I bought it in like 2017. And it works off of batteries, or like you can plug it in. So if you need to move it away from a wall, it will still work because you can put batteries in it. And again, it's cheap. So that is a cheap, I think, pretty necessary item to use in your business. And then some things that make things a little bit easier when it comes to prepping items to sell, especially if you sell clothing. A lint roller, a really good lint roller. I will link the one that I love below. The ones that you get like dollar store and like the cheap ones don't work really well. The one that I use has like a green handle and it's like a little bit bigger and it works really well. So I will link to that below. Also a sweater shaver to remove pilling from items. It just takes like 30 seconds to a minute to like make a sweater look brand new and make it just a little bit more sellable and make it so that the buyer is happier when they get it because there's not a bunch of pilling on it. And another thing you can get is a steamer. I don't use mine often. If something needs to be steamed, I will usually put it to the side and do it like once every other month because I don't like to get the steamer out and do steaming. I do shop at the bins mostly and I will wash pretty much everything. So most items come out of the dryer and immediately get hung up. So I don't have to worry about things being wrinkled, but once in a while I will need that steamer and it is a good buy. I have a cheap one. I've had nice ones before and have sold them when we moved, but I do have a cheap, just smaller one and I will link to that down below too. So I think that's all of my must-haves. I can't think of anything else. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you have anything that you just really love to use and find it's either saving you a bunch of time or money or just like making your life easier in your reselling business, please comment below. I want to hear all about it. I'm all for things that are going to optimize my business. Again, if you have not checked out Vendoo, go ahead and click the link in the description below. You will get 25% off your first month. I've been using Vendoo for literally years, I think since the day they came out. So I'm a huge fan and my business kind of revolves around it. So I could not live without it. So thank you guys so much for watching and I will see you next time. Bye.